Hello guys, good morning and welcome back to our video tutorial. Um, Previously we stopped at chapter 1 and we discussed something about static routing, not in detail. So today's chapter is basically about static routing. So I'll discuss about static routing maybe in 20 minutes or so. I'm just going to be a little bit brief because everything that we are going to do on this chapter is on the practical side. So we don't want to be repeating ourselves. So I'm just going to be brief with this and I'll be fast in as much as I can. So we will start from that. So this is static routing, and what we need to learn here is that we have to discuss about the static routing advantages over the routing protocols, and we'll do some implementation of static routing in a small network, and we'll configure static routing and default static routing. We have different types of static routes. We have a static route, we have a default static route, and we have a floating static route. So let me just make a jotting of that one. Let me just make a quick one, a quick rundown of exactly what I'm trying to say here. Okay guys, so let me just make a quick one here. What I'm saying is that we have what we call static route, static routing. We have default static routing, default static routing. All of these are different types of static routing, but they all have the same administrative distance. So we also have what we call floating static route. Okay, so floating static route. This is static route, default static route, and floating static route. So this static route and the difference between this static route right here and this other two different static routes is that with this static route the administrator is going to specify, let's say for example here I am the administrator and for instance I am on router 1. So let me just take my drawing pen and see so that we get something right. Okay, I have this, I am an administrator and I'm on router 1 for instance. Now in a static route I want to reach this network right there. That is the 10.1.1.1.0/24, and I want devices from this 192 network and from this other 192 network 11.0 network. Now if I want these networks to be able to reach here, router 1 must know information about this network. So therefore this entire network that is here, I need to inform this router about this network and how to reach that network. The same way to reach this other side also, router 1 will have to also route another traffic to this other network that is right here. So in doing so, this is exactly what static route is. I am going to specify the network address itself. Okay, I am going to specify the network address itself right here into this other router using IP route. So that's what I was doing in my previous video. So that is what static route means. Now the other static route here, that is this other one, that is, let's say the default static route. Now with the default static route is a type of static route which you configure to your on your router, mostly on a gateway or flash, or mostly on a network where you don't have other routes, okay, or you don't know the other networks. Let's say for instance you're connecting to your ISP. The ISP would never give you their network address, so therefore you need a default static route to reach those ISP LANs that are on the other side of the ISP. So in that case you are going to configure this router 1. Okay, you're going to tell router 1 for instance here, router 1, I want you, if you don't know about any network, just forward it. So in that case, just forward any destination to any device that you know about or any other router. Just forward the packet if you do not have any information about that network. So in that case, you're going to set all your you're going to set router 1 to route traffic to all unknown destinations. Okay, so that's what you're saying. You don't want the router to drop, because one decision that the router will take is that if it does not find anything, this router 1 does not find any destination on its routing table, it will drop the packet. But you are telling the router now, do not drop if you do not know the destination, just forward it to the next router. So that is what this default static route is. So it's gonna send to router 2, and router 2 knows about this networks. Obviously, it will send back at that. So that's why you put IP route 000 to own any other network, and then with whatever subnet max, it doesn't matter. So from whatever network to whatever network, just for the packet. So that's what router 1 is going to do. I don't have a route for this network, but I have a router that I know about that can have access to that network. So router 1 will say, I do not have access to this network, but I can rely on router 2 to connect to that network. And the last part here is the floating static. I'm just going to make a quick summary, and I think that should be able to cover everything in this chapter. So in a flat floating static route format, what you're trying to do, or what the router does, is that you find a backup route,